What's up, and welcome to another episode of the Grind Line Podcast. I'm your host, Greg. You're listening to episode 164. I'm here tonight with Ryan and Tyler, but also with the digital reporter and producer for the Detroit Red Wings, Daniella Bruce. Daniella's been on a few times, but how are you doing tonight out in, I'm assuming, frigid Edmonton?
It's not as frigid as you would expect. We obviously were in Calgary, flew to Edmonton today, and both have had very mild weather, which everyone's telling us we're very lucky for. So yeah, it's not bad here. It's not bad here at all.
Whenever you're not trapped under 3 feet of snow in Edmonton, you're having a good day.
Right.
But how are you guys doing, Ryan and Tyler?
Good. It's actually a nice day today. The sun was out. We had I don't have the screen on my front door yet, but the front door was open. Let some sunshine in. So it was a nice change from the gloominess that we've been dealing with. So I'll take it.
Yeah, same. Not too bad. It was like 59 here today, like 60 degrees. It was great.
Still 55 out here right now.
Everyone knows on the East Coast when it's over 50 degrees, it's shorts and barbecue weather.
I wore shorts to the gym today. Absolutely. Sure did.
Not quite. Come on, guys. It's not quite that point yet. I know we all get excited when the weather gets anywhere over 50 and the sun's out. I get it. But shorts?
It's the results of being trapped in a frigid hell for months. That's the problem. So anytime it goes, because Michigan, it goes from literally 30 degrees one day to 65 the next day. So when it hits that, like if I'm in a jacket, the next day I'm going out in shorts. No one's going to stop me.
Right. I mean, it does feel that much warmer too, right? When you're coming off a 30-degree day and it's 62 or whatever. Yep. Yeah, it definitely feels warmer.
I had a dad moment where I just walked out my back door today and just stood there and looked around, watched the house.
Cup of coffee in your hand. Yeah.
I didn't have the beer. It was inside, but I did. I had the hands in the pockets. I had the Crocs on. I was just like, this is nice.
Oh, man.
Surveyed your kingdom. That's what you did?
Yeah, pretty much.
You took stock. Well, we've got Daniella on. First, we're going to kind of cover the little Red Wings skid that's going on, and then we're going to get to a little bit of trade deadline talk because that is coming up on Monday. And we will have Max Bultman on next week to recap the trade deadline and kind of how those moves affect the team in general. But we kind of want to start off with the skid. The Red Wings are on a 5-game losing streak, most recently to the Calgary Flames, a 3-0 loss, which to me wasn't that tough. And then, Danielle, we were talking a little bit before, we actually held our own against Tampa. And the Minnesota game was not great, but I mean, there were pluses. The only games I really didn't like were the Arizona game and the Florida game, where I feel like Florida's kind of expected because they're so good. But to lose like that to Arizona, who has been okay lately or better lately, I just don't think there was any excuse. But what have you kind of seen that may be a reoccurring theme in these losses?
Well, I would start with, I think you nailed it. The Arizona loss was embarrassing. And they admitted that, they know that. And I think when you look at the list of the teams that we've been playing as of late, you got to remember, even before Tampa, Colorado was in town. And then you had Carolina, who we beat in overtime. And I thought that was a great game. And then you head to Florida on a tough trip, 2 very tough teams. And the Tampa game was really a 2-1 game with an empty netter. So the final score was 3-1, but it was very close. The Red Wings had some great scoring chances in that game. And that's where I'm going to answer your question. I think in the brutal losses, like the one that we had to Arizona and even Edmonton, I don't think it was that bad of a game either. Calgary. And they are really good, right? They're going to be a playoff team. They're leading in the Pacific Division right now. They are strong, they're big, and that's something that the Red Wings are lacking as well, but they're just not generating enough grade A scoring chances. They're not finding their way in front of the net. And I think that's the biggest thing that they need to work on. And, you hear Coach Blashill say all the time that shots aren't always everything. And I mean, he's right. There is a way that they measure their grade A scoring chances and down to a science. And I think if I was measuring correctly, based on what they've told me, the Red Wings were being outchanced about 7-1 at the beginning of the second period. It was about 2 minutes into the second period of that game against the Flames. So it doesn't sound as bad, right? And like I said, you just got to get pucks in the net. You got to get in front of the net, generate that traffic, cause some chaos. That's the only way you're going to score when you're playing a team that is bigger and faster and stronger than you. And that's just the reality of it.
Yeah, I think especially against Calgary, you have to get more than 5 shots in the first 2 periods.
Yes, for sure. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, you got to put the puck on net, and they know that. I mean, like I said, it's a team. They were outmatched, and that is just the reality of the situation. And I think there are still so many things to be excited about with this team, even though they are on a 5-game skid. I think Red Wings fans in general, we've gotten on a little high because of how good we've seen them play at points throughout this season. And we're excited about Mo Seider and Lucas Raymond. We're excited about the way Dylan Larkin has been playing, and Tyler Bertuzzi for that matter. But I think sometimes you got to take a step back. These teams are going to be making playoff pushes. They're going to be making cup runs. And it's getting to that time of the season where they are going to pull away from teams like the Red Wings.
I just need to admit wrong where I was, Greg.
Oh, okay.
You were absolutely right when you said that the schedule was going to get tougher. Boston was going to get healthy, start winning, and we were going to start losing. So
Greg, just clip that one spot of "you were absolutely right."
You were
and use that
just
against
loop
Tyler
it.
forever.
And they say someone that's good in the media can admit when they're wrong. So I'll just take that one.
Hey, we're not media.
I think another point that you brought up that I had seen a couple other people bring up online too that is true is that Calgary is a huge team.
They're big.
Like, they're very large.
Really big. And even seeing them it's just, they're way bigger. And that's why you see guys like Giovanni Smith and Luke Wachowski in the lineup in those games, because you need the size, you need the strength, you need the toughness. And they're really good. There's no other way to put it.
And I think that's something that Yzerman is trying to solve through the draft. If you go back through the past couple years, I mean, everyone he drafts is like, unless you're a small skilled forward like a Carter Mazer and guys that they see promise in, you're an Elmer Soderblom who's like 6'8", 250 pounds, or all their defensemen are like above 6'2", above 210 pounds. And that's what you kind of need to compete is to get if not the forwards, just a huge decor that's not going to let anyone by. And you see that even with Mo Seider, who I'm not sure has actually been hit this entire season. I mean, every time someone hits him, he bounces it off.
Don't touch it. Don't touch him.
Yeah, don't touch Mo. German steel bends, does not break. That's what we say. But and you had a good quote from him today, and I just found it absolutely amazing, where Mo says he does not think he's been playing as well as he should this past stretch.
Yeah, I mean, I asked him, the question was that he was obviously, a little cliche talking about how it's about the team. They've got to play a little better. And I asked him what he thought about his game personally. And I didn't really expect that answer from him, but he said, probably not good enough. It's not good enough. I haven't been playing that well. He listed specific mistakes he made in the Minnesota game and specific mistakes he's been making. But I mean, from what we see, and he's awesome, right? He's the best player on the team, the number one defenseman, and
top 10 in the league is what we've said.
I mean, he's playing so well. He's logging a lot of ice time, but it's a good thing that he feels that way and that he's hard on himself, because he's going to watch that film and see those mistakes. And I bet you he's not going to make that same mistake again. Right. So he's a rookie. He's going to make a few.
He's 20 years old.
I know, it's crazy. It's crazy. So he's got to learn from it. And I think what he said today proves that he is, and he's trying to, and he wants to get better every day.
Have you seen someone, I mean, Larkin is probably the easiest comparable, but of guys recently through the Wings roster, especially as young as Mo, have you seen someone give you an answer like that over the last several years? I mean, I feel like it's few and far between if anyone has really said
like with that
really
kind of head on
themselves
right?
out.
Not that young too, just knowing. And the thing is, he'll say that, but he still plays very confidently. Like, just because he said that doesn't mean that he's losing confidence or he doesn't believe in his skill or anything like that. It just means he realizes it and he wants to be the best he can be for his team. I think it shows so much maturity, and every answer that he gives the media, I'm like, wow, this kid, he's got it all, right? He's great on the ice and he's super mature, and he's going to be great for us. Our future is bright with him leading the way.
I will say my highlight of Mo over the last week. So Chelsea and we went to the Wings debacle against Arizona, and we treated ourselves to an early anniversary. So we were in the
wow, that was your honeymoon?
I think I would have gotten in trouble if that was the actual honeymoon. But we decided to go do the Players Club. We never been down there and checked it out. And Stahl's kids, all three of his two daughters and his son, were all there as the team was coming back in after warmups. And Mo had the best he had that big old wave, hand real high, like a big smile, gave fist bumps and high fives and chatted with them. It was the complete opposite side of what we're used to seeing on the ice. And I mean, we've seen some of the videos posted on the Red Wings social media about how he is with Raymond and the sort. It's to see the full picture of what he brings is awesome. And then like that quote just kind of brings it home of how competitive, but how much fun he is and what we're in store for. And it's awesome.
Yeah, he's great, man. I'm sure you guys watch the Mojo show all the time. That's been the biggest hit for us lately. And he's great. They have so much fun together. And I think it's super important, right? You want your young guys to bond that way and to come up together in that way. And yeah, it's going to be fun. They have a lot of fun together.
Sidebar on that, and speaking of players with kids, I know you saw Carly's video of Larkin. Who was that? Whose kid is that?
Okay, so Stacy and JR, they are Stacy is our social media coordinator, manager, one of the two. She's social media, and JR is on the equipment staff, and they're married. That's their baby. So Dylan took him out on the ice. He wanted to take him out there, but I don't think he was liking it too much. His name's Jack. I don't think he was too happy to be out there right away. And then Lash took him back out there. He warmed up a little bit, but he wanted mom to take him out there. That's for sure.
Now back to Mo, could you see there's going to be some vacancies, some assistant or alternate captain vacancies coming up. Could you see Mo getting an A?
I think I could, but I could also see a guy like Sam Gagne wearing the A for the rest of the season. And honestly, I could see them not really making a move on that.
But even going into next season.
Oh, next season? Yeah, definitely. I think Steve being a young captain himself, obviously that's Dylan Larkin's role right now, but I don't think he'd ever be afraid to give that to Mo, especially if he keeps showing the leadership that he's been showing.
I see a lot of Larkin's leadership qualities or study for the game or passion for the game in Seider. Yeah. And that's kind of one thing that's really exciting because we all know that Larkin lives and breathes hockey. Any of his answers are, what are you doing when you're not doing hockey stuff? It's thinking about hockey or watching hockey or whatever.
Right.
I feel like a lot of that is the same kind of attitude toward the game with Seider. And like you said, he doesn't take a step back when he knows he's made a mistake. He's a learn on the go kind of guy. You keep doing what you've been doing and work on things you know you've done wrong. And I feel like that's a very Dylan Larkin quality, which is, super exciting to see in any young kid.
And I mean, every captain is a little bit different, but when you look at all of the captains that the Red Wings have had, going back to Steve Yzerman, Nick Lidstrom learned from Steve Yzerman, Henrik Zetterberg learned from Nick Lidstrom, Dylan learned from Hank. And so, the chain keeps going, right? So there's some great teachers that have run through the Red Wings organization. And I think it may not all be exactly the same, but the qualities, the big qualities that our captains have are all very similar. So it's great to see Dylan Larkin taking that over. And if Mo is the future, if that's what we're looking for, then Dylan's definitely teaching Mo those habits too.
Is there an organization with a better lineage of captains over the last 30 years?
No chance. No chance.
Yeah, I would also agree. I don't think so. I mean, some of the best names in the sport, period, were the Detroit Red Wings captains. And that's kind of where you go with that is they get the top of the breed in there.
What's even more fantastic is that from Stevie on forward, of all those names that were just mentioned, they're still part of the organization.
Yeah,
and all of these players right now, they're seeing the banners, they're seeing the names on the walls as they're walking through, and they're seeing them at practice, training camp, everything else in between. Like, that's huge. And I know, especially because I know Edmondson, I know it's been talked about how Lidstrom and Kronwall are over there. Like, you have those types of people influencing these young players and hopefully bringing them back to the prominence that we're hoping for.
Yeah,
what we're used to.
What we're used to. Yeah. I was going to say that. Yeah.
For a specific generation. Yes.
I was going to say not so much the younger generations, but us.
Yeah.
Yep.
So the skid sucks, but looking forward, we've got, like, you're in Edmonton. We've got Edmonton tomorrow. Then we've got Vancouver, Seattle, Philadelphia, Islanders. So, I mean, the Kraken are toward the bottom of the league. Philly has not been fantastic.
That was Arizona.
Yeah, Arizona just beat Toronto too, though. They're on a little hot streak there. Oh, don't discredit that. I know that the standings can be deceiving sometimes. Yep. I know and Arizona started off terrible. They've gotten better. So I think there's that, of course, losing 9-2, the way that the Red Wings did is not the answer, and they played a bad game. But there are positives, and I think Red Wings fans need to try to focus on those, because when you look back at the beginning of the season, did anyone predict that the Red Wings were going to be a playoff team this year? I don't know. I don't think that was in anybody's mind.
Bottom 5, I think, was 90% of the people. I said probably finishing the season around 10 with around 82 points, which, I mean, is still fully achievable. But I think most analysts, most people had the Red Wings still as a bottom 5 team, little improvement from last season. But what I said is I don't want to see them ruin what they've built up in the first half in this last quarter of a season, because in the first half, they outdid every expectation that was put on them.
Right.
They beat every guess that anyone had as to how good they would do. And even guys like Raymond are still going right now. When NHL.com just released their updated Calder race, and Seider and Raymond are 1 and 2. Zagreus is 3. The 57-year-old Michael Bunting is a distant 4.
Grandpa Bunting.
Max made a joke. He says,
Poor Max.
Max is 2 weeks older than Michael Bunting, and he says this past week has made him feel really great about himself. But yeah, they're 1 and 2 right now. And if Mo doesn't, I feel like if Mo doesn't win the Calder, that's a crime. And Lucas is right up there with him and it's not even just that Lucas slowed down a little bit in point production, but the play is still there. The level of play is still there. And I think there was a quote from Blash that said he's not sure that he doesn't think that any other rookies, even though they're having the fantastic seasons have had as much of an impact on their team as Seider and Raymond have had on the Red Wings. And we've said the same thing, that it's great for Michael Bunting to have all these points, but you could put me or Ryan or Tyler on a line with Marner and Matthews, and we'd probably have some points too. So.
Yeah. And I'm sure people voting take that into account. Yep. And I think Mo has been, again, he's my number one. I think Mo should win the Calder, and I think everyone's on board with that. Yeah. But Lucas has been outstanding too. But when you think about what Mo is doing, as like we just talked about, a 20-year-old defenseman in the NHL, and he makes people look silly sometimes. Of course, he's still learning, but he never, ever has looked out of place to me. Not one game has Mo Seider looked like he didn't belong in that game. And I think he's like he's still a +3 or +4 or something like that. I didn't check today, so I'd have to think
after Arizona, he might be a -2.
Really?
Yeah. Let me double check, but I think he went down a little bit.
Maybe I was thinking of
-2.
I just talked to Stahl today, and he's one of our only positive players still remaining. So he's been good as well. But Seider's been really good, is my point. Very, very good. And he carries this team. He carries the blue line. He's our clear number 1 defenseman. And like we said, he's probably top 10 in the league right now. And if that's not impressive at the age of 20, then I don't know what is.
Yeah, exactly. Name me some other 20-year-olds besides a Cale Makar that are doing something to that effect. But what we wanted to get to tonight, and I think is the important part coming up here, the exciting time of the season, generally the day where I get zero work done because I'm doing Photoshop trade pictures, is the trade deadline coming up on Monday, the 21st. Mm-hmm. And we do have some options. Now, I don't think anyone expects Yzerman to be a buyer. There's no reason for us to be a buyer. I also don't think Yzerman is going to just dump the entire roster on the trade deadline, but I do expect some deals to get done, even though a lot of the media is saying it's going to be pretty slow.
Right. Look, he surprised us all last year with a huge deal for Jacob Vrana, right? But I don't really think that's going to happen again this year. I think, like you said, some small moves here and there. Steve Yzerman likes draft picks, so he can acquire more of those. He's got some players like Nick Leddy, Mark Stahl, Sam Gagne, even that might be able to help out a playoff team with depth. I think if you're going to talk about a guy like Tyler Bertuzzi, who we were talking about before we started recording, this year probably doesn't work for him considering he can't play in Canada right now. So I think that might be one, just, the teams are going to consider that because if you play a Canadian team in the playoffs, but I love Tyler Bertuzzi. So I very much hope that he stays a Red Wing. But if you were to trade a guy like him, you'd need a 1st-round pick. You'd need a top 6 forward. You'd need a prospect, or maybe even add in another 1st-round draft pick, right? So it would have to be a haul to get rid of a guy like Tyler. And then obviously your untouchables are Dylan Larkin, Lucas Raymond, Mo Seider. And that might be it, honestly. But
would you add Ned?
I think, Ned. Yeah. I mean, again, I think if this crazy deal came forward for Ned where Steve Yzerman said he just couldn't say no to it, he would do it, but he's not shopping Ned. I don't think that's a thing at all. I don't think that's somebody he's saying, they're available, talk to me about it. I just think he'd listen. I think he'd listen no matter what.
Well, I think that's the general rule of thumb is you have to, if someone came along and said, I'll give you 10 1st-round picks for Dylan Larkin, you've got to take a listen to any single offer that comes into you and take it seriously. But like you said, the untouchables or untradables are ones like Larkin and Raymond and Seider, because the what you would ask for them, no one else would touch.
Yeah, there's no chance you'd get it, I don't think.
You see the defensive market, the trade market, kind of limiting itself a little bit because Jacob Chikrin went down the other night in Boston for Arizona. Would you see them trading maybe a Filip Hronek, someone like that, be available for a steep price?
Again, maybe. I truly don't know. And again, the Red Wings are in a position where they need to listen, right?
Yep.
They have to listen to everything. So if they really wanted Filip Hronek, again, I think every Red Wings fan trusts Steve Yzerman to make the right decision. He's proven that he knows how to better a hockey team. He knows how to draft. If he wants draft picks, he's going to get it. If he wants to trade away some draft picks for a player, we trust that too. I really don't know what to expect this year. And like I said, they're going to listen to anything and everything, but they're not just going to be shopping players left and right. There's no need to roster dump. The Red Wings have vastly improved this season.
Yeah, I think your big pieces are Nick Leddy, where if you retain some salary, you can actually probably get a decent return for him, because that's one thing that we have that we can weaponize is cap space. And we had also talked about maybe taking a roster dump from another team in order to get some assets back, like we initially did for Mark Stahl, who was probably the best roster dump we've ever got.
He's been great. I'm telling you, I think he's been, and the guys love him. Like you've seen videos that happen, like the t-shirts and everything with the 1000th game. So I would be really bummed to see him go, but I would also totally understand where he's in the back end of his career and he wants to go somewhere and win a cup. So if there's a, opportunity for everybody to be happy there, I wouldn't blame him, but I really like him here in Detroit.
Yeah, we had talked about that as an option where you could let them say, Mark, we've got these teams looking. Do you want to go to one of these teams and go get a cup run? They could even bring him back in the offseason if they wanted to on another deal. I kind of had said the same thing about Nemesnikov, is Nemesnikov loves being here, clearly loves being a Red Wing, loves playing for the team. But if a team came and said, hey, we want him because we need a depth forward for a cup run, we're trying to win in the playoffs, and they offer you a third round pick or whatever for him, you could have that conversation with him and say, hey, we're going to send you here in the offseason. We'd love to resign you. We know you love playing here. We'd love to bring you back. And that's always an option. I'm not sure how often it's utilized. I don't think it's utilized a ton. But if there are players that truly love playing for the team and are going to do something to help the team, like what Mark Stahl getting traded would be to help the Red Wings. He knows that.
Yeah.
So I don't think he'd have any issue coming back after the fact, simply because he likes being here and the dudes love him in the locker room. So.
Yeah, they seem to have a lot of fun with Mark Stahl. Lucas Raymond called him dad. Yeah, so there's that. He probably doesn't love that very much, but
team dad, him and Gagne, team dads.
Yeah, right. And I mean, you mentioned Nemesnikov too, and he's another guy that just like we still have to put a team on the ice, and with Fabry being injured, that definitely, Nemesnikov is a valuable guy to have simply because he could go anywhere in the lineup. He can play all three positions, and I think he might be important through the end of the season. But I totally agree. It's another situation where if somebody really wants him for that playoff run, then maybe he does come back, because the smile on his face and the jersey tugs when he scores are epic. Yeah, they're epic.
Awesome.
I think I'm remaining mildly naive. I think it's going to be a quiet deadline. Maybe a defenseman goes, but I think for where the team is at, you don't want to crush the spirits by getting rid of guys. Like to your point there about, selling the farm basically, because they don't really have the guys, unless we're talking about people we think that may be untouchable almost, or on that teetering tier. And you're still they're not in tank mode, if you want to call it that. Kind of like how we've seen the last couple of years where it's just been a complete debacle on the ice.
They can't afford to be.
No, they can't. And you've got, for the way that you got your young players playing this year, you want to keep any momentum you can get going forward. I mean, do I think something's going to happen? Yes. Do I think it's going to be a drastic moves? I don't think so.
I don't think that's naive at all. Actually, I think that's pretty spot on. And I think we were just saying that might be league wide this year. I don't know. It just seems like it's going to be quiet.
Yeah, that's the feeling that a lot of people are getting. I think a couple GMs were talked to where they said don't really expect a lot because their phones are barely ringing. Mm-hmm. So you might see some of the big name guys moved, but I think on the smaller move front, you're not going to see much. And I think that's where the idea comes into play, where maybe you look at a team who's got some bad contracts that's trying to make a big trade but needs to offload cap. Steve Yzerman can facilitate a trade there like he facilitated the Safard trade. You come in third, you retain some salary, you get a pick out of it, and you move a player around. And I'm perfectly fine with that because, like you said, Steve Yzerman loves picks. The more darts he can get to throw at the board, the better. And he's shown that he's been able to hit on those picks too. So that's the kind of the exciting part. Now, the kind of the letdown is generally around trade deadline, you may see some people offloaded and a promising prospect maybe brought into play. I think maybe towards the beginning of the season, we're like, maybe around trade deadline, we might see a Berggren come in and get some play time. But that may be a further off possibility than what we had previously thought.
Yeah. You guys have thought even more about it than I have, to be honest with you. I just never really know, because like I said, last season, I didn't think there was going to be a big deadline move. And then there
Neither
was.
did we. Absolutely not.
There was a huge deadline move. So it's Steve Yzerman's probably all ears. Again, I don't know that for sure, but I'd imagine he's ready to listen to anybody that wants to make him an offer. And he's not going to do anything that's going to hurt this team. Everything he's done so far has made this team significantly better. So the trade deadline is going to be a win in my book. I'm already putting it in the books as a win.
Anything he does, unless he sells the farm, is a win.
Just as we think Steve Yzerman's not going to make a move, he makes one at 3:00 in the morning. So
yeah, right.
Yeah, that's true. That's
I'm not going to be able to see.
That was Robbie Fabry,
yeah,
wasn't
the
it?
Fabry move I know they were flying back from somewhere. They were flying back and they made the trade while the team was in the air. So
great. Did they parachute Jacob De La Rose out? Did they
hey, all right, pull the chute,
fly over his destination and drop him off?
Think we're over St. Louis. Here you go.
But Danielle, do you have anything coming up? Anything to announce? Anything you want to make people aware of?
More broadcasting games?
Well, I'm on the road right now, so there's a lot of fun stuff coming up on that end. I talked to Mark Stahl today, so that should be out by the time this goes out. And he's just a quick interview about, his time in New York, playing 1,000 games, his brothers being involved in that, all three of them. And he was great to chat with. And like I said, he is having so much fun here in Detroit, and you can see it when he talks. He's a pretty quiet, reserved guy, but when he talks about Detroit and his teammates, it comes out of him a little bit. So that's really good. And that should be out by the time this goes out. So check that out.
Did you guys talk about when he got the penalty on his brother?
He has laughed about that a couple times. I didn't ask him about it in this interview, but he did talk about it in media availability. He said his brother was actually laughing. I think it was Jordan. It was Jordan, right? Yeah, it was Jordan.
Yep.
He was laughing at him because it was a bad call. He was like, even Jordan knew that wasn't a good call. And he was laughing at me as I went to the penalty box.
Now, Jordan Stahl's a funny guy. They were doing the 1,000th game videos for him. And his started with, "Hey, Mark, it's your brother, Jordan." Like he wouldn't know who his brother was when he was watching the video.
For everybody else, right? It's for the viewers, just in case they didn't know that was his brother. But you can pretty much tell the three of them are brothers.
Yeah.
So.
The Stahls are a funny group of guys.
Isn't it unbelievable that they're like the first trio of brothers that have ever played 1,000 games in the NHL?
It's just crazy that all of them have played professional hockey too. Like, yeah. What are their parents?
4 of them, right?
Like, all 4 of them did. Can we figure that out? Like, what do I need to feed my kids when I have kids one day to make sure that they become NHL hockey players? Because they
I was just going to watch his kids.
You can ask Daryl Sutter the same question.
Yeah.
Yeah. The Sutters are another one where the entire family is a hockey family. And they do. Now, the Red Wings made a huge mistake by not making that 1,000th game shirt available for purchase.
I agree.
Because everyone
I will relay
now
the message.
wants one.
I can relay that.
Yeah, everybody wants one. And they would make pick a charity, say, here's the 1,000th game shirt. All the proceeds go to the charity. They'd sell a boatload of them. It's a fantastic shirt.
Spoken like a marketing man.
Yeah, well, the day job never leaves, Ryan. But Daniella, we want to thank you for hopping on for a bit with us to talk trade deadline and the state of the Red Wings. And we love having you on. Anytime you want to come on and talk, we'll be happy to have you. Where can people find you online? The best places.
Follow me on social media for sure. You're going to get everything that I ever do there. It's at Daniella Bruce _ on both Instagram and Twitter. So that's where I post pretty much everything.
Awesome. Thanks, Daniella.
Thank you.
Thanks, Daniella.
Thanks.
Again, thanks to Daniella Bruce for coming on and chatting with us about the trade deadline. It's always good to get the kind of view of a person that's closer to the team, I would say, to kind of get what their feeling is going into it. And I think it's kind of the same feeling that we've all had, that it might be a little quieter than it's been, and that don't really expect a ton from Yzerman. But like, again, last time we didn't expect a ton from Yzerman. He traded Mantha for Vrana. So
yeah, it's it always seems like all is going to be calm, and then he goes and pulls some type of crazy shit. But I mean, if he does, I'll just go with her mindset, because it's a way more positive and happy mindset than I think what any of us will ever come up with as we're watching this team. But it's going to be a win. I mean, the biggest thing is we've got Dylan Larkin, I would assume Tyler Bertuzzi, Lucas Raymond, Mo Seider. We got those guys are on this team, and they're not going anywhere.
Yeah.
And that's what's going to make the rest of this season still enjoyable, because now, I mean, it's not like it wasn't already there, but all our attention is going straight to the Calder race and how we can ensure that Canada doesn't taint the Michael Bunting favoritism.
Oh, Lord. Michael Bunting.
That's not happening.
Sorry. Who posted the article today? There was an article I saw, I think it was a Sportsnet one, that Michael Bunting deserves the Calder. Mo Seider's season has been unblemished, and he's had a standout year, but he doesn't deserve it.
Well, Ryan, you go find the article, and in the meantime, I will bring to you the sponsored message from DraftKings. The NHL season has been packed with dirty dangles, hat tricks, and big wins. As the action rolls on, DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NHL, has your shot to win big too. New customers can bet just $1 on any team and get $150 in free bets if they win. That's right, a bump in the win column for your team means free bets for you. If Sportsbook isn't available in your state yet, you still have a shot to light the lamp. Everyone can play for huge cash prizes with DraftKings daily fantasy hockey contests, and DraftKings is giving all new customers a free shot at millions of dollars in total prizes with their first deposit. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now, use promo code THPN, bet just $1 on any NHL team, and get $150 in free bets if they win. That's promo code THPN at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NHL. 21 or older, restrictions apply. See show notes for details.
Found that article.
Good, Ryan found the article. We're back, and Ryan found the article.
It's a TSN article. Bunting deserves the Calder this season. The Twitter post is Moritz Seider's rookie season is without blemish.
Period.
But this year's Calder Trophy winner should be Michael Bunting.
Because he's being weakened at Bernied by Marner and Matthews? Okay, Michael Bunting. Oh, Lord. Where was the other quote that I saw? Someone not from a Canadian media channel said that basically if you plot Michael Bunting on any other team, he'd be a bottom 6 player.
Uh-huh.
If you took Vladislav Nemestikov and put him with Marner and Matthews, how many goals and assists would he have? If you took, I don't know, if you put Joe Veleno with Marner and Matthews, Michael Bunting is he's having a good season. But again, when NHL just put out their recent one, he was 4th in votes. I think Jeannot should get more votes than Michael Bunting. Am I wrong? I think Boldy.
What's frustrating about this article is here's a direct small paragraph quote. Seider has been sensational for an otherwise bad Red Wings team, and he's doing it as a 20-year-old anchored to a struggling Danny DeKeyser. Full stop. Seider is every bit deserving of the award.
But
in many ways, he reminds me of early days of Ottawa's Erik Karlsson.
Well, so they just.
But then he starts going into goals above replacement and using.
Oh Lord!
Oh boy.
He basically uses the fancy stat argument, and I'm not. Obviously, we talk highly of the fancy stats.
But he's using the wrong fancy stat argument.
But he is using things of that nature, goals against and goals for. And he's looking at combinational performance of Bunting playing with and without Matthews and using things of that nature. It's like, I got nothing.
I guess it's because they're a Canadian market media and have to toe the Toronto Maple Leafs line, or else they get shunned by the organization or whatever.
You want to hear how he closes it?
What? I hate my life. Please get me out of here.
Seider is having an outstanding year and deserves Calder votes. In an age-capped vote, he is in the driver's seat to win this thing. But Bunting found himself in a prime position alongside one of the best players in the league and has delivered in dramatically positive fashion. Assuming this holds, Bunting deserves the Calder this season.
Fuck that. Who wrote that?
I'm
going to yell at him. Yell at him on Twitter.
Yost.
Was this from today?
There was 10 hours ago. Hold on,
Get
let me
him
drop
out
it
of
in
here.
the chat.
What a fucking joke that is. You really think that Michael Bunting deserves the Calder over Mo Seider or even Lucas Raymond? Give me a break. This isn't even close. This isn't even close.
Is he playing well? Yeah, he's doing what you would expect a first-year NHLer to do.
Okay,
on a top-level team. However, again, maybe this speaks to the fact that they absolutely need to change the age limit for Calder winners.
So now, Jackie Redmond, the lovely Jackie Redmond,
they were talking about this, yeah.
From she now is reporting on TNT, I believe. She
still
did
with
the
NHL
same
Network
thing
as well.
She put out an article saying should now it wrongly said that that was it Zegras leads Bunting leads the Calder vote. Someone that was not Mo Seider leads in Calder voting or Calder race. And I had quote tweeted it and said that's a really funny way to spell Mo Seider. And that
you meant to say leading in goals, I think. Because I think she quoted herself and then realized something. Oops. But yeah.
But she said she fully believes that Mo Seider should win the Calder, that it's her vote. But should there be an age limit for the Calder? And my response was yes. If you're a skater, the age limit should be 23. And if you're a goalie, it should be 26 because goalies come into the league later on average. Anyways, when players can come in 18, 19 years old. Goalies can too. If you're a Carter Hart or whatever, it's just extremely rare. So I think there should be a cap. I don't think Artemi Panarin should have been in the Calder voting when he came into the league because those players spend more time playing against adults in greater leagues or have more what are considered professional games under their belt, whether they go to the AHL or what. AHL is still considered a professional league. So you've played professional games technically already against adults in arguably a much more aggressive league. The AHL is a far more aggressive league because it's guys trying to earn a paycheck for a lot of them.
So do you think that maybe game time in the AHL should be a disqualifier?
I think
say take out like an ELC years, but if you go past ELC years,
that's another way to look at it. So what you're saying, instead of age, if they've played so many AHL games that they aren't considered a professional rookie anymore.
Yeah.
I could see that.
Is that too, you think that's too stringent though?
No, I agree with you there, but I also think that there should be a limit based on European as well. Like if you play in Russia, you play in Sweden, you play in Czech Republic.
Well, yeah, it wouldn't be just specific to the AHL.
Pro League games and consider the AHL a pro league,
or do you just keep it simple and hard stop 23-24 and be like, well, that's it.
I think that's easier. And again, because you could say pro league, but I think there's
then you get in the debate of this league's not as good as this league. So how can
there's
you
a
really
large
say
gap in playing
pro?
in the Belarusian pro league than you're playing in the SHL, or if you're over there playing in the Taiwan pro league than playing in the Liga. Those are big gaps. So I think you could say if you are in an NHL system for so long, or you could say you're 23 years old, this is your last season. If you turn as long as you don't turn 24 for the end of the season, then you're still considered a rookie. But I think if you are 24 or over to begin a season, like you can't. I can't say you're a rookie at that.
Why not
point.
make it 25?
No, I think 23, 24.
I think 23 is a good age. 23. I would say 23 for skaters, 26 for goalies.
Mm-hmm. And if they really want to get more particular about Rookie of the Year, then they need to go like every other sport. I don't know if basketball does it, but they need to have an offensive and defensive Rookie of the Year. Because then you avoid this type of bullshit conversation altogether. Because now, do I think there's defensemen, we've seen it before, they do outperform the offensive counterparts, and it might be a down year for offense. But the way that hockey is and how you're playing two sides of the ice, why not break it up that way?
I think they should do more. Like, I'm a big proponent for more rookie stuff. Sure, offensive rookie of the year, defensive rookie of the year. They should have a rookie showcase game.
Yeah,
the NHL should have as well as an all-star game, or just replace the all-star game with a rookie showcase. Mm-hmm. That's a great idea.
The all-star game's not going anywhere.
I know it's not. It makes them too much money.
No, just put them on together.
Yeah, sure. Do it with the skills comp. I don't see any team that would be against the rookies coming in and just showcasing the young talent in the league, because if you want kids to be more interested. You're not trying to get 85-year-old grandpa interested. You're not trying to get 65-year-old angry white guy at home interested. you're trying to get a kid who's learning to play hockey. You're trying to get a kid who's just going into sports. You're trying to get a kid in elementary school that's trying to figure out what he wants to do or that's just starting to watch. And when you put all these 18, 19-year-olds that would be a great showcase, just a rookie showcase game.
Just to interject, baseball does not have a pitcher and hitter rookie of the year. It's just AL and NL.
So I think you could do more rookie awards, do a rookie showcase game. It's fun for the kids. And the thing is they haven't been beaten down by the system yet. So they're all just so excited to get in there and play.
Also, think about everybody loves hype and prospects and stuff like that. It's a perfect way to put guys out there that are actually going to try versus the NHL guys that aren't going to try. So, I mean, obviously you have to still have the All-Star game because it makes the NHL so much money. But if you could they did a rookie game. They used to do the rookies versus the sophomores in the NHL All-Star. I think it was like a 4-on-4 10-minute period game or something like that.
Like when they do intermission at a Red Wings game and the Pee Wee players come out on the ice to play a period.
I don't think it was. I think it was 3 periods, maybe 5 minutes a piece or something like that. But anyways, they need to go back and do something like that.
Or just take what my idea was for the All-Star game. Like I said, they should have it at the draft. Do a rookie showcase at the draft. Like that, awesome. Show these kids who are coming in, the kids that just came in and what they're doing. I think it's probably a better timing to do it around the All-Star game because a rookie who's playing in Colorado is probably just as excited as a rookie playing in Buffalo around the time of the All-Star break and towards the end of the season. They're probably just like, fuck this, I don't want to be in Buffalo anymore. But I think that even if you did it around the draft, it just build the hype. And this is where the NHL at every turn, and I've said it before, and it makes me so mad because it's my actual job. At every turn, falls on their face at marketing.
Everybody says this about every league except for the NFL.
No, the NHL is the worst marketed league. Baseball really doesn't need a ton of marketing. I mean, it's a pretty set in sport. They're making a shit ton of money. But the NHL keeps talking about growing the game. Hockey is for everyone. Do all this stuff, but they don't show it. That's the thing is they suck so bad at marketing.
Okay. Well, you think ESPN finally takes it over and does something better within the next couple of years?
Are they allowed to?
Here's where I disagree with you, Greg. I think the NHL does a poor job at marketing. I do agree with that. The NFL and the NBA are much better.
It's worse than poor.
Major League Baseball is awful at marketing too. Mike Trout has 2 million followers on Twitter. You know how many followers LeBron James has? Actually, LeBron James has more followers on Twitter than every NFL Major League Baseball player combined.
I think a lot of that is because of sponsorship deals and stuff like that. LeBron's also a very outspoken guy. That's the thing.
He's iconic.
They made him the face. And baseball is a little different, but basketball, you can create these superstar teams and you can follow this one guy who's literally the best. You could say Connor McDavid is the best player in the league, but people will also make arguments for Nathan McKinnon. People will also make arguments for Austin Matthews.
The guy they're trying to make the face of baseball, and Fernando Tatis, Tyler, to your point,
he's
only
out.
has 158,000 followers.
Hurt.
He's hurt now too.
And now he's hurt.
2 to 4 months or something like that.
Yeah.
So you look at a LeBron and he's just the gap between the best basketball player and the second best basketball player is like this. That's the thing, is that he's so dominant in basketball, you can kind of win with one or two guys, like star players. In baseball, you can't win with
you need a whole team.
You need a whole team. Same thing with hockey. You're not going to win. Look at McDavid. They even got McDavid and Draisaitl. You can't win with one or two guys. You need a whole team because position play is so important.
So now this argument is fascinating because everyone that I've ever talked to says that for the NHL to grow and become a bigger market, they need to stop pushing the team thing and they need to start pushing the stars thing, which I don't think is ever going to work in this sport.
They can do both. The other half of it, Tyler, is that basketball is huge overseas. It is the biggest sport in China, which has billions of people. So that's the thing is the NHL, and for the sake of trying, the NHL is playing games in China. They are playing foreign games. I think they have more next season than they've ever had games overseas. I'd love for the Wings to get into a Swedish game. Holy shit, half our fucking future is there. So I think that that's what they need to do. And I want to get a couple people on that are overseas. I'd love to get Lars on to talk about the state of hockey in Sweden, but I'd also love to get a person from Germany to come on and talk about German hockey. And just
it's growing
places,
too.
It's growing huge. It's a hotbed. Mm-hmm. I think that unless you're, I guess, Dominic Bach, who I thought was going to be a really good prospect, and he's like gone now. So I think that you need to grow the game in other countries. And I talk to people from the UK that are huge hockey fans. Rowan, Australia's got some big hockey fans.
I know people said that, the league hasn't made more money hasn't ever made more money than it has recently. But I will argue that after that 04-05 lockout, the league took a hit and it still hasn't recovered fully from that. There's still people that I've talked to before that say, oh, no, I'm not watching that sport anymore. They locked me out and we lost a whole season. So, I mean, I'm not saying that that's the end all be all. I'm not saying that, that is more of an older fan, I would say, at this point in time. But I will say one thing, if you're going to grow the game, yes, overseas is very important, but there's still a market where you can still grow the sport in the South. There's still a market where you can still grow the sport in the Midwest, or not so much the Midwest, but more like the West. Like you have Seattle. Expansion, I'm sure, is going to take place at some point in time. Probably not anytime soon because of COVID and everything else.
Relocation should take place before expansion.
I agree. Yeah, the fact that the Arizona Coyotes are going to play in a 7,000 seat arena
it's the University of Arizona Coyotes, Tyler.
The University of Arizona Coyotes. There you go. Yeah, that's not good for the sport in general. And I'll tell you one thing right now. I was at the Bruins Coyotes game the other night. I saw maybe 3 Coyotes jerseys the whole night.
Don't worry, their fan base is super rabid on Twitter. They will block you in 3 seconds.
Who?
The Coyotes fan base. Adriana pissed off the entire Coyotes, the entire 12 people who like the Arizona Coyotes. And now I think she's blocked by all of them. So,
well, I saw maybe 3 jerseys in the crowd the other night, and everything else was. I actually saw more Red Wings stuff than I saw Coyote stuff.
But NHL, I offer my services because y'all's marketing blows, and you need to get a lot better at it because you're trying to grow the game, but you're not doing like. You had the brilliant idea for TikTok Kid, which was the worst fucking idea I've ever heard in my life. And that blew up in your face. And
send him your portfolio, Greg.
He's either been assassinated or like doesn't talk about hockey anymore. They
took the money and ran.
They blacklisted TikTok Kid. But like they're just ideas that have good intention behind them, and then they pick the entire wrong person to do it. Or there's so many ideas that they don't want them, or they don't take them, or they don't want to listen. And it's just, they need help. They need a lot of help because they want to grow the game. I feel I have absolutely no idea how to do it. Red Wings coming up. What do we got? Payne in Edmonton. What are we going to do?
Yeah. Edmonton. How are we going to do? Mm-hmm. I mean, I'm more confident playing Edmonton than I am Calgary. I will say that much.
Yeah.
I mean, we can just go to the games earlier in the year, but that long change and losing the line change battle, to Edmonton in Edmonton, that could be brutal. But who knows? We'll see.
Then we have Vancouver.
Toss up.
Seattle.
They've been playing good too, Vancouver, recently.
You think Seattle's a toss up?
I think so.
Out for the season?
I think that's a win.
I want to assume win, but I mean, I assumed the reason Chelsea and I went to the frickin' Coyotes game is like, oh yeah, they'll win that game. And
never go against bad teams.
I had faith at home.
Ryan, the past few years have shown that we play well against good teams and bad against bad teams.
Well, yeah, I mean, we regardless of whatever game we chose over the last week and a half, it would have been a loss, so it didn't matter. With the exception of Carolina, which I couldn't get to. So I'm mad because Brandon and frickin' Ethan got to see a glorious game there. But anyways, Seattle, I don't know. And then going into Philly next Tuesday, I think Philly wins it, but they're worse than we are when it comes to a 1-goal lead late. So I think we can pull that one out.
So you're saying there's at least a win on the horizon because 5.
I could see 2-2.
Okay. Let me ask this. How many more losses in a row before Blash gets fired?
None.
You think even if we lost the next 5 games, they'd keep him? All right.
I
Tyler?
mean, do you want my reasoning?
Yeah, go ahead.
There's no point. It's not like they're tanking, but
You don't think even just for the sake of, hey, let's not screw this entire thing that we just built the first half of the season, knowing that how you played then is fully acceptable and what you're doing now is not.
Because the big thing is if we just lost a main top 6 forward on this team to injury for the rest of the year, we've got the trade deadline coming up, and if he actually does make some moves, this roster gets worse. Mm-hmm. So at that point, you're now again putting Blashill in the situation of, hey, we're giving you this shit sandwich. Go win hockey games.
Yeah. We didn't even talk about Robbie Fabry blowing out his ACL. So
that was kind of a big piece of news.
Yeah, I mean, big in the sense that we lose Robbie Fabry for the rest of the season. But I mean,
we did get Jake Brown back.
Yeah, it's not the same either. Yeah, and Verona has 3 goals in 3 games. So, I mean,
not a big deal.
No, not a big deal. But, I mean, it also gives him some opportunity to move a few other people around. Like he said that guys like Zadina and Veleno would have more play time. And I think he even mentioned Rasmussen. Mm-hmm. And then he fucking brought in Luke Witkowski and played him and Giovanni Smith on the same line.
You know, Daniella made a good point about those two coming into the lineup. And I really... While I'm not a fan of having them both on the roster at the exact same time,
and on the same
game
line?
Like Calgary, it made sense. What?
And on the same line?
Well, I mean, you're not going to stagger them on other lines.
Well, you could bump Smith up at least to the. You could bump Smith.
You could have put Smith up to the third line. Okay, I will give you that. However, I mean, that is in the sense so you can actually match up with the aggressiveness and size of Calgary. But at the same time, was Witkowski end up getting hurt at the end of the game? Was there any updates on that?
I had not seen anything, but
I meant to ask for
the
that,
game and did not come back.
Yeah. And that was after a shitty boarding call, which they did call, thankfully. And then it led to Giovanni getting his ass whooped a bit by Milan Lucic, which was very upsetting.
Yeah, I saw absolutely none of that game. I will say, because I was at that hockey game in Boston, and I looked at my phone after the first period, and I think the shots were 19-1 or something like that. And then I looked again after the second period, got an alert, and it said there were shots were 31-5. I'm like, oh, good thing we tried tonight.
Someone made a good comment. Were they sandbagging this whole time just to come back and win? Oh, was that you?
Was that you? Because in the third,
5
minutes into the third period, they already had 8 shots. And I'm like, wait, and they had possession for a full 2 minutes. And I'm like, wait, were the Wings sandbagging the first 2 periods and then just decided they wanted to conserve their energy for the third? Because that's an awesome move if they did.
And they did look good.
They did. And Grice played out of his fucking mind.
Yep.
And it's either he's playing to get traded or the dude's more hot and cold than Peter Mrazek. I don't know.
That was a huge bounce back game for him, especially for confidence.
Huge game.
I want to say, because they were even talking about that on the pregame, because the first period I missed because I was in the car driving home. But Paul and Ken touched on they need confidence. He needed to come out and have that type of game and performance to get back on the right track, because we just went through some of those games. It has not been good.
No.
So, and especially going back and forth, I think on 2 different occasions where one got pulled, the other got put in, then they got re-pulled. And so
fucking embarrassing goalie juggling.
And I think that's where additional frustration toward Blashill comes from the fan base too. Because either stick with the goalie you got, don't do the Olay juggle bullshit. Either leave him in for a game, let him take a pounding, or when you switch them, let it happen. If the team can't respond to a goalie change, then it's just that bad of a fucking night. Yep.
You know what? Or pull the goalie. You're playing empty net the rest of the game. I'm not letting any goalie get shelled that.
Just put Bertuzzi back there. You'll be all right.
I think that, and I don't know if any coach has ever done that. I feel like a coach has done that. 10 minutes left, and then they're just getting shelled. Just pull the goalie. Why even bother? Why even bother having a goalie in if the defensemen aren't going to play defense?
I don't think that's ever happened in the NHL, but I bet you it's happened somewhere else at another level.
I mean,
Don't get crazy.
it's a balls out move, man. You gotta just say, listen, guys, I ain't gonna let you ruin a goalie like that.
If Patrick Waugh was still a coach in the NHL, it probably would have happened already.
That is 100% a Patrick Waugh move.
I will say one thing: when Quinnipiac was a very good hockey program, and I shouldn't say when they were, they still are a pretty good hockey program. They were in the NCAA tournament. I think they were a 1 seed, and they were down 3-0 after 2 periods. And they started the third period with the goalie pulled, and they scored 2 goals. They pulled the goalie with 20 minutes left in the third period, and they scored awesome. 2 goals. And I think they might have brought the game to overtime. But no, don't give Blash any ideas. As far as the stretch coming up here, I mean, I see a loss in Edmonton. Unfortunately, I just think that McDavid and Draisaitl are going to be too much. I feel like that team is starting to pick up their game a little bit. Vancouver, that's a toss-up, I think. I mean, the Canucks have been playing better as of late, but I mean, again, like I feel like that's a toss-up. Seattle, I think that should be a win, but again, you know, we kind of talked about, you know, the Arizona game should have been a win as well. Philadelphia,
great, so that one's going to be interesting how they played on it tomorrow.
The Flyers are interesting because it just feels like they're not trying to win at this point. Claude Giroux is probably going to be out of there by the time we play them. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I mean, I think that's a win. I think that's a win. The Islanders have some pieces that they're probably going to trade off as well. So that, I believe, is a toss-up, and it could be a win. And then Tampa Bay is a loss, obviously. So, and then we'll see what Pittsburgh brings. So,
yeah. I guess we'll see what happens. But I think we need to get another win within the next 3 games, or the team confidence is just going to take through the floor, which is something we cannot afford to lose right now.
I think they will.
Yeah. But I want to get you guys' final thoughts before we sign off. And I'm going to start with Ryan because he looks the most distracted.
Final thoughts. I mean, I don't know. I think I'm done being overly optimistic as much as I have been this season. Like it's been fun, but this last stretch and even more than that has been shit. And it's kind of a lot of the old habits I think we saw from before the season have kind of reared its ugly head in terms of just poor defense, sloppy goaltending, not really scoring goals the way that they should be. I mean, you can't really argue that Fabry being out handcuffed them and hurt them that badly offensively, but you could argue that their defense has absolutely let them down and just has not, like, just simple man coverage and finding the spot. It's not there. And the goals against speaks to that very highly. Now, has goaltending been that good? No, it isn't. It has also been poor, and that hasn't helped. And now people are going about, oh, it's a good thing that Carolina got rid of Nedeljkovic. Well, no, it's still really not. But yeah, again, it's the team as a whole has not played well and left him out to dry more often than not. But it's, like I said, I'm going to try to keep the fantastic optimism that Daniella has. It's still the team that we are here for, hoping they do well, and we'll just have to see what happens. I mean, what Stevie does in the next week is going to be important.
Like we had last season, it's just focusing on the growth of the people you know are going to grow with the team, and that's still exciting.
So that's what we have to look forward to the rest of the year. And I mean, I foresee, especially if any more injuries come about, some of these younger guys, maybe we do end up seeing Berggren come in for a couple games. I think they may try to, can his contract still be slid to the right a year?
Berggren, no.
Okay, so he's past that point.
Yep.
All right. That's right, because they did finally get him. Yep. So, but I mean, you hope that he does crack the roster. Maybe he closes out the year. They just get him up for a few, then send him back down and let him go with close out at Grand Rapids. As long as there's still progress at that end too in Grand Rapids, and we can talk to Jen, Brandon, and that group, Keith, all those guys that are actually out there watching the games in person, they still have their positive reviews going on, then it's still a win. I mean, as long as this team, they're 4 games below the 500 mark in terms of win-loss, they're still overachieving in a way. And if they can keep it hovering there and not get too out of control, then I think we're still on the right path. So yeah, we'll see what happens. This next week could be interesting. It's been quiet so far. There was a trade today with Colorado getting Manson from Anaheim, so that bolsters them immediately. But yeah, we'll see. Already ran 33.
We'll see things trickle in.
Yeah, my final thoughts here are, I mean, they just need to start playing better hockey. I know that's cliche and that might just sound stupid to say that, but they just need to bring it more. I think over the last couple weeks, the effort hasn't been all the way there in some of the games, especially that Arizona game, which we don't speak about. But they just need to put together some 60 minutes, and if they lose, they lose. And if you win, obviously then that's better. But they can't let this thing spiral out of control. I kind of reiterate what Ryan was saying there. I mean, they can't let it spiral out of control. This has been a really good season, very unexpected for a lot of things. And they don't want, the last thing you want to happen is the confidence to start going down, because then, you start seeing stupid penalties, suspensions potentially. That's not good for anything. So hopefully the trade deadline itself here is quiet besides the rentals and what we do need to move out. I don't really foreshadow anything big, but then again, he's Steve Yzerman and you don't really know. So like I said, there's a lot to look forward to in the future, and still here in the now. Maybe we get a shot at Bergeron or one of the other young guys. But other than that, you can follow me on Twitter at SealDog91.
I just again want to say thank you to Daniella for coming on and hanging out with us for a bit. Talk about the Red Wings. We love having her on, and we, like I said, welcome her back anytime to talk. We'll probably have her on again towards the end of the season to do a recap and look at the off season or more towards training camp to see what's going on, because she goes up to Traverse City to do the reporting up there and check out the prospects, which we also hope to probably get to coming up next season, is up to Traverse City for the prospect tournament. You can follow me online at Bringing the Wing. You can follow the Grindline podcast online at Grindline Pod. I also want to give a shout out to a podcast. We provide a lot of Red Wings actual content and news and all the stuff that is the day-to-day. But Adriana and Sean over at the Unsung Octopi podcast, they do a lot of really cool Red Wings history stuff. So if you're into the history of the team and want to find out just more about what the team has done in the past, go check them out on Twitter. You can find them at Unsung Octopi Pod. Go give them a follow. They got content coming out more frequently now. And it's just a really good listen. And it's not just the normal day-to-day Red Wings news stuff, but it's a lot of cool background information and historical stuff too. So we wanted to give them a shout out. If you go to howieshockeytape.com and use promo code Grindline, you get 10% off your order. If you use that same promo code on Bring Hockey Back, you get 12%. We also like to give a shout out to the Hockey Podcast Network at HockeyPodNet, where you can go to find podcasts from really, I think they have all of the NHL teams covered now, and they spread them out all around the internet for people to enjoy. Vintage Detroit is another company we like to give a shout out to, who just, does the absolute best work with Detroit jerseys and apparel. If you are looking for any jersey, baseball season's coming up, you need your baseball gear, go to Vintage Detroit, they'll hook you up. Lynn over there is amazing, and all the people do fantastic work. And if you can check out our merch at redbubble.com by going to redbubble.com and searching the Grind Line. You'll find all our designs there. I'm going to get back on the design train after I'm done making very pink Jacob Verana backgrounds for cell phones.
I saw that.
It's awesome. Isn't it awesome? It's like a Barbie version of Jacob Verana. It's pretty sweet. But go there, check out our merch, get our designs put on mugs and cups and shirts and bath mats and all that fun stuff. That's going to do it for us tonight. So for Ryan and Tyler,